My name is Tari, and today we're talking about a very unusual subject. It's the moment when a woman flips a switch in their head and decides that they want to be with you, and it's called, I just want to see where this is going. The caveat here, however, is that more often than not, you don't know that she's feeling this way, but she does, and so do her friends, and so do all of her suitors. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say two people have just started dating, and at some point there's been some sort of memorable moment. Either you've had sex, you've been extremely intimate, or you've shared some sort of heartfelt experience together. One of the things that I highly esteem about women is that they go into this mode, this sort of relationship-oriented phase, or this almost convincing in their mind that something is coming, something's happening or unfurling in the person they just started talking to, and so they don't want to ruin it by dating anyone else or starting something new until they, quote unquote, know where it's going. Now, here's the interesting part. If you are a suitor, this does not work out for you at all, because what are you possibly going to say? You have to respect the fact that a woman has interest in someone and someone's interested in her and she wants to see where it's going. The fascinating thing, though, however, is that more often than not, the woman has absolutely no idea what the man's true intentions are, what he's thinking, if he's been clear, where he stands. And in many cases, it's not easy to share your intentions. Why? Because in the very, very beginning of dating and sex, while you're just spending time together, getting to know each other, many people often play a game of not wanting to show their cards first. It's like those who don't want to say, I love you first. You don't want to put your emotions on the table and say, hey, I like you. I like where this is going and I want you to be my girlfriend. Of course, there are people who do this. There's a name that I have for that, which is called claiming someone. I think if you're vibing with someone, especially if you're a man who's really doing well with a girl that you're seeing, you're enjoying time together, it's a wonderful thing to do to claim your woman and demonstrate, I choose you and I want you. And when the woman feels the same, I think that's one of the most attractive things in the world, but you really want to make sure that you're on the same page when you do. So flipping the switch really works out well for the man who is involved with this woman and she's decided that she wants to see where it goes, but you might not even know this. You might not know it. And so this is a word of wisdom. Right there is where that magic and that commitment and that monogamy starts. It's my belief that once you've entered into a woman's mind, once you've penetrated her with your gaze, your personality, and also by sleeping together and, we'll say, having great connected sex, something begins to change and she begins to become yours. There are always exceptions. There are always men who have tendencies to behave more like women in relationship and vice versa, and plenty of women who can have sex with many people at once, but this tends to be the trend for how things go. If, as a man, you can pick up on this, and it's actually very easy to do because she's receptive to your calls, she responds, she wants to hear from you, it's easy to see her, she makes time and plans to see you, and you're not interested fully in this person, you need to get out as fast as you can with as much respect, tact, and care as you can, because you're going to hurt somebody. See, I think we all have an obligation to be the custodian of the other person's heart, whoever we're involved with, if we're being intimate. It's a little bit like playing with fire. I think so many of the stories of women getting hurt or feeling like they're with a narcissist or someone who doesn't care for them, or they're giving so much and not getting enough back, it has to do with these initial phases of investing in a man who is not fully invested in you. Now, if you are interested, however, this is where things get really juicy and interesting, because once a woman starts opening herself to you, yielding to you, allowing you to enjoy her and do things with her and to her that are very special to her or sacred or private, you now have begun the process of opening her and opening her heart. We'll actually end this podcast with talking about all the wonderful aspects of this, but I want to give you the other shadow side of this as well. If you keep messing up, if you don't cherish your time with her and you don't honor and respect her, and vice versa, of course, everything is mutual, you will watch almost like a switch getting flipped a very, very specific change. Suddenly, things you do will piss her off. Suddenly, little tiny things are bothersome. Suddenly, you won't be getting as much care and attention as you normally do. You really have to be careful if you start noticing this behavior because, as I mentioned in a previous episode, these are some of the signs to look for when she's out the door. And it may or may not be repairable. But I've always believed, and it seemed to be true, that once you get a woman in this, kind of want to call it like a love space, or she's just into you, or you're vibing, or you've got this great chemistry, that's a really sacred and special bond. And I believe both people have to work really hard to keep it active and alive. I want to be careful here, and I'll be saying this often throughout episodes. I do speak a lot about caring for a woman and adoring her and opening her and celebrating her and pleasuring her and taking her to her edge and making her spill all of these delicious things. But I want to really, really emphasize that I do not mean there to be an imbalance of power in the relationship. Men should also be respected, appreciated, cherished, and made to feel cared for as well. I think that can be expressed in so many different ways, such as bringing small gifts, making a special meal or snack for him, making yourself look a certain way that he might like or appreciate, being open or experimental to trying some things he's wanted to try, and taking care of the bill yourself sometimes, planning a special day around things that he wants to do or giving him the space to do and enjoy the things that he wants to do. I just want to emphasize that it's very easy to get carried away with pleasuring your woman and thinking that this is the end-all be-all of your existence. And so men, you're not put here to please women. You're here to also be celebrated and cherished and to feel your own pleasure and to have a woman who does that for you and doesn't just take, because it's very easy to get into that. We get in these mental constructs of men being chivalrous and demonstrative of affection and energy and giving. And it gives me the image of a faucet that's just always turned on and pumping out money, energy, love, time, resource. Whatever side of this you're on is that you also get it back, that you give and you take, you give and you take, you give and you take. Interestingly, though, it takes one to be taken by one. We can't always blame someone for taking if someone is giving. It's important to know when your partner is already all in. So often people in relationships feel like they need to prove something to the other. They need to prove their worth or prove their worthiness or simply prove that they want to show their partner how much they love them and how much they adore them. In many instances, this is beautiful. It's an incredible form of courtship. It's an incredible way to keep romance and love alive year after year. However, there are some people who don't need to hear about all of that, especially if you're a man interacting with a woman. They just need to be shown that. Less talking about it, more doing. And with that being said, back to pleasuring women. As a suitor, when you're pursuing a woman and she tells you that she wants to see where something is going, it is healthy and smart and wise to just back off and allow that process to happen. You may notice this woman's behavior switch when she realizes it's not going where she wants it to go, where she thought it was going, or if the man doesn't have the same level of interest in her, or if they're not going to pursue something together. Then, this is very fascinating and will help answer a lot of confusion about why women change their behavior with you sometimes as men. And I don't know if you caught it, but this teases just a little bit about the idea that people, in my experience often women, always have someone on the back burner, or like a monkey swinging from branch to branch, always are holding on to one before they let go of another, and that will be a future podcast episode as well. But to bring things back here, I've had women over the years be incredibly warm and sensual and sexual towards me, and then one day it just seems like it shuts off like a switch. And it feels a little abrupt and it feels painful, and it makes me say, what happened? And what it is that they've usually involved themselves or attached themselves to someone new that they like, and they're pursuing that now. And this is their way, because sometimes people don't communicate, so that's their way of showing it. And then sure enough, if that interaction or that relationship or brief encounter with their new man or person comes to an end, suddenly that person's behavior switches, and guess who comes around calling again, seeing what you're up to, seeing if you want to hang out. So it's such an interesting dance, this idea of leading as a man, because there's really an art to doing it. And that's going to be what these future episodes of Deep Listening are all about. It's not that we're leading, and controlling and controlling. We're not really controlling anything. We are creating the container and the space for the woman to dance within, but she is making her own choices and her own decisions and pursuing what she wants to pursue. So the deep listening here, the message here is that sometimes men don't know when to stop. They keep trying and pushing and going and trying. And if you're really listening, you don't want to wear a person down to saying yes, or finally convince them to say yes, or give in to you and surrender. That's no way to enjoy someone who you are attracted to. But if you can tell that there's interest, on some level, there's some chemistry that you want to explore, but it's not time yet, let it marinate. Let it marinate. Because in a little time, you might find that things work out very well for you. And if not, then you also have time to get to know this person as a friend or an acquaintance and see if they're really for you anyway. Now, a word of caution to women who are givers, and women who are takers, you just plug your ears. Women or men, if you're givers, you want to be really aware at how a person is treating you and how they're using their power with you or using your personal power. Once you're turned on by a man, and once you feel this in yourself, you're starting to give yourself to this man, you need to be very sensitive and keenly aware to how he's interacting with you. Frankly, does he give a damn? Does he notice it? Does he care? Or are things just moving along through some Netflix and chill and sure, why not, come have some drinks and yeah, we're going to go to this bar tonight? Or is there something beginning to shift where he's recognizing and appreciating the care and monogamy that you're giving him? None of these things mean that you have to jump into a committed monogamous relationship and be exclusive and all of that. But what it does mean is that you begin to have authentic, caring, heartfelt, loving experiences that create closeness between the two of you. And that's what it's all about. It's always been my take that no matter what happens in a relationship or an interaction, because all interactions are some form of relationship, if I've been the best person I can be, and a woman has given herself to me the most that she can and is able and wants to, and then it doesn't work out, or then we break up, it's really okay because we've fully experienced each other. And I think sometimes people come into our lives at different times or different places and spaces, and when we're in different moods for different reasons. I don't really like when people trail off like that and say there's always a reason and everything happens for a reason and no one ever knows what that reason is. But what I mean is you can still savor and enjoy the experience. You can still have incredible sex with this person, connect with them, bond with them, savor everything about them. It's like those times when you meet someone in a foreign country and you're only there for a month or a couple of weeks or a year, and you understand your time is limited. But if someone's not going to move their entire life clear across the universe to be with you, then you might as well savor everything while you can. And I really encourage that. And I want to encourage more moments of closeness as opposed to the never-ending questions such as, where is this going? What are we? Are we in a relationship or not? Is he going to introduce me to his parents or not? On and on and on. These things are very hard to discern, and that will probably be another episode, such as, how do we discern if we're just dating or in a relationship, and where is this going next? How do we ask, now that we've graduated from let's just see where this is going, to finding out where the heck we're going? If you're a woman, you know there's a time where there's a switch that clicks in your head, and I want to encourage you to find out when that is. Is it when you've had sex once? Is it when you've kissed someone? Is it when you've had great sex? Is it when he's made you come? Is it when he's just been really sweet to you or thoughtful? And so you decided to shut off all other opportunities. What I want you to realize is that this may not be conscious behavior. You might know that you're rejecting other men or consciously be aware of it, but I'm not sure if you've ever thought of that place when it happens. And is it different for every man? Or do you tend to do it with certain behavior? Once you know when that is, you should also recognize that that's you starting to feel more, starting to get more serious. And if you're having a 1 night, 2 night, 3 night stand kind of relationship with a man, that might be the time for you to step out. And as men, if you're noticing this in the woman that you're dating, congratulations, what a freaking gift. Savor it, eat it, devour it, enjoy it. And know that you are getting in a sense, locked into something, whether you've spoken the word relationship or not. You're either going to hurt someone if you stick with it and don't communicate your authentic feelings, or you're going to have an incredible, beautiful, delicious unfolding that is the beginnings of what's likely going to be a relationship. However you navigate your relationships, whether it's just one-on-one or whether you're open to seeing other people, but that's what's happening there. And then finally, single men, if you notice this behavior in women, remember, you shouldn't take action if a person is trying to see where something is going, because then you're just convincing and probing and trying to be needy. There has to be that spark and that curiosity from her. It's never going to serve you to speak down to the person, to speak poorly about a person or speak about how much better you are or whatnot. Let it be. Let them explore that. You might find that it takes many months, or maybe it takes a couple weeks. And in my experience, it's taken a couple days sometimes before someone flips their switch back and they become open again. Sometimes we don't have control about how and when someone will flip their switch, but we do have control of keeping it turned on. Have a nice day.